Good morning, everybody. Shift your mindset here with a new episode of a new week full of opportunities. And this one's episode is gonna be Watchtower is bleeding. And why do I say that and what are the facts? Because let's stick to the facts. One of the things you can see an organization is in decline or is bleeding out little by little, because it won't go overnight, but little by little you see it because of the decline of the JWs. A lot of areas in the world, and I don't believe the numbers Jehovah's Witnesses provide in the annual report, because there are some countries where you see a decline, a few thousand less of JWs, and the number is stagnated 0% or whatever, but never a true decline. Where can you see that the JWs are in decline? One of the things is, and it's going on for a few years, it's selling of the kingdom halls. You see a lot of kingdom halls are being sold. People have to travel further to go to the congregation. With doing that, people are not motivated anymore in these days to go and make the trip to that new kingdom hall. Has different reasons. We go further about it in the rest of this video. But you see, they are selling a lot of kingdom halls in the countries. Another thing is the ministry. We were used to the Jehovah's Witnesses in the street. We were used as a society to see them everywhere, to pop up everywhere. The door-to-door ministry, what I hear about people all over the world, only in a few areas, like in Africa, in certain areas where there's people are poor, or even in Southern America, it's going into decline. The Jehovah's Witnesses are completely vanished off the streets. And they have to thank themselves for that, because it's no longer you feel that pressure to meet at least to be in the safe zone. It was about 4 hours a month, 5 hours a month. You were under the average, but you were not written off by the elders and the other ones in your group because you only did 1 hour or something. Then there was that loving arrangement of elderly people who could provide 15 minutes. They could write it down that they did 15 minutes, and Jehovah was very happy with those older people who still did their best. So the whole incentive is gone. So what if you give someone in a company just a salary and it doesn't matter what they do? You get, because Jehovah's Witnesses are salespeople. They are trying to convert as much people as they can, because it's all based also on status. The more you bring in the congregation, the bigger you grow, and the more respect you get from the other members in the congregation. So Jehovah's Witnesses are salespeople. It's a real estate company and it's sales. It's all about sales, and now it's all about the money. So you are a salesperson, but you have no target. You have nothing to prove. What do? Nothing. Because it doesn't matter what you do. And that's the feeling the governing body gave the rank and file people, the JWs, with eliminating how many hours, how many this. It's now active. So it's easier for your conscious brain to just say active. Maybe because you don't feel that guilt. I also did my field report and I just threw in some numbers. I wasn't active, but I put 4 hours on it. But always had that feeling, but it's lying or whatever. Now you can say, yeah, but I talked to someone active. So it's easier for you to do it. But that's also one thing why they are bleeding out and in decline, because people don't take the ministry serious anymore. You don't have that conversation level we had back in the old days. In my time already, if I look to my parents, every street they worked, it was about Trinity. All the people were believers in something, Catholic or whatever. And you always had discussions and you always had conversations about the Bible. But in where I come from, the Western Europe, people don't believe anymore in God. So it's more difficult to get a conversation about the Bible and God. And if you take away that 9 out of 10 people don't want to go into the ministry if they can choose, it's easier for them just to do the easy job. And the easy job was to do standing with the cards. And before I left, there were strict rules for the people who can stand at the card. You had to be exemplary, you had to dress in a certain way, you must be something who is good in having a conversation with mutual respect and explaining the Bible. It's so broken down now, the whole ministry, in just one phrase. Go to jw.org. There is all the answers you need. That's the only thing they say and they do. And I tested it with some cards here. That's the only thing. They don't go into a conversation anymore. It's all about go to the website and now go. Because we want to talk with each other and I want to sit in my chair with a cup of coffee. So that whole thing is connected to the second thing. Knowledge. They are pampered by the governing body with a tablet. Every kid has a tablet or a smartphone and they just pull the scriptures within a few seconds on their screen. So the whole thing about researching inside in the Bible or whatever that book was called. My father, I saw him studying so much hours during the evenings. He went upstairs to his room, study room, and he was studying with all that literature around him on his desk. And now it's just a television religion. It's like just watching a movie. The study with your children, your family study is now watching a broadcast. You just press play, you hear everything. Afterwards, okay, we go to bed. Everyone, good night, bye-bye. So the whole level of intellect is gone. If I ask a Jehovah's Witness now, the ex-JWs I speak have more Bible and scripture knowledge They say, oh yeah, in Matthew 21 verse, and it's still in their head. They rehearsed it their whole life. It's like calculating with a calculator or doing your math in your brain. They don't even know where things are written. They just type in the search field on jw.org if they want to know something. So the whole level of knowledge is also declined. And the other thing that's not helping the organization is the changing of so much new light. Changing their doctrines. They are not standing out anymore. It is no use for you to believe something because tomorrow it can be changed. If I look at the generation of my father and mother, there was no change. What they've been taught was there for 30, 40 years. And now the last 2 years we had maybe more changes than previous decades. And that frightens a lot of people. Luckily, those people who are heavily invested in the religion are a JW for 30, 40, 50 years. They won't go anywhere because where do they have to go? Nowhere. They are so invested in that religion that they would stay. But the newer generation has another problem. They have a problem with the generation. And so they are switching the tactics now to make it a corporation. They change it from a Bible point of view to a business point of view. And how can you do it better than getting them in that business as soon as possible? People are not interested anymore in becoming an elder, in becoming a ministerial servant, because that takes a lot of work. And back in the days, people would want that to do the job, to do the work, and to get the status and the recognition from the congregation. But people nowadays don't care about that. They are busy with their own lives, with their work, with their private life. And they don't want to hear other people's problems anymore. And it's also, so it's changed from a biblical view to a business model. So now it's getting young people into that business, and that business is making money. Another thing is apostates. There is so much research now available for people, and that's also a problem for the Jehovah's Witnesses, because that's also a reason why they are in decline. Because you can't open a TikTok, your Instagram, Facebook or whatever. You all have communities. There's YouTube videos. There are plenty of YouTube videos. Every search you do on the internet takes you also to other material. And do your research. And people are intrigued by it. Hey, even I have someone who's a JW who's now responding on my latest videos. But he also hasn't got the knowledge he should have. Why? Because he's saying instead of door to door, I go video to comment on. But friend, listen, it's apostate material. Look into the Watchtower online library on apostates, on the rules and the principles about apostates. You are not allowed by the governing body to watch apostate material. Only a few brothers on the PID department are allowed to watch apostate material. But those are the guys highest in ranks who are capable of keeping a clean conscience while watching apostate material. But as a rank and file, you aren't allowed to watch apostate material. It can cost you your ticket to paradise. It can cost you that God is judging you and you are a goat. So that's the problem Jehovah's Witnesses have now. There are so many rules changed. It's become a mainstream religion. They want to be a merciful organization. Behind the curtains, nothing is changed, but they want to let people around them know and that they see that they are merciful with removal. It's our last resort. And we have several meetings now with a person to repent instead of one meeting. But behind the curtains, it's the same. If you are disfellowshipped or removed, you can't have a nice time with your family. You can't go on vacation with them. So that's the problem. The new generation who is coming in doesn't know the DNA of the organization. And that's with every business. When a business is growing or declining, and when you make so many changes in that organization, people don't know anymore what the end goal is, which route we are taking as a company. And if that company gets exposed from the outside and people have access to it, in my days, we hadn't access to the internet. There wasn't a forum on Reddit. There wasn't YouTube videos about Jehovah's Witnesses. There wasn't a documentary about things. There wasn't a series on Netflix about religion or cults or whatever. You didn't have access to Googling what a bite model is for cults. And now everything is available. And that is a problem for the governing body, because they don't publish that they lose a court case against Norway. They don't give you the real reason why they lost that case. They don't give you information about so many elders who are now convicted about child sexual abuse. They don't give you that information, but people are getting that information elsewhere now. So people are making up their own mind. So that's the advantage of being a JW in this time, because you have access to anything and you can't hide after something anymore. You can't put your head in the sand and say, oh, I didn't know it. You should have known it. So there's no excuse left. People back in the day had an excuse about being controlled, about being kept in the dark and stuff like that. But you don't have that excuse anymore. And also, you see it on the conventions. On the conventions, you see a low attendance. Empty seats. You guys remember, I was doing security and standing at doors and guard them and stuff like that. I had to be at 6:30, I had to be there on the convention, and the doors opened at 8 o'clock. From 7 o'clock there were already hundreds of people waiting for the door to open. There were fights almost breaking out because people jumped the line apparently to other people. And they had cushions and they had big bags with them. And as soon as I opened the door, they were running to their places because they wanted to have the best seats, and they were all putting things on the seat, Bibles and literature to keep the seats for people they knew. What wasn't allowed, but hey, they all did it. And they were running and they were pushing each other to be the first one into the hall. That's something you will never experience again, because if you go now to a convention and you come at midnight, at midday, at noon, you can choose wherever you want to sit. So that whole stadium that we saw back in the days, 40K people, you see now conventions of only a few thousand people, all empty seats. And the other thing, the last thing I want to mention is the education level they're giving the JWs now. It's not about a revelation book. It's not about really hard stuff to absorb and to know back in the day. It's about Caleb and Sophie getting an ice cream and they save their money for the governing body. Wow, that's mentally intriguing. Wow, yeah. Ooh, that's hard thinking. The education they're getting now, also on the midweek meeting. There's no exam they take anymore. There's no things that stimulate your mind. It's all children. It's the level of a child of 5-6 years old who is just learning new things about the Bible. At that level, everything is written. If you look at the watchtowers you are now studying on a Sunday or whatever in the weekend meetings, it's so basic. It's not stimulating anything anymore. My heart is also bleeding for people like my father, who has to sit there after being 50 years at JW, and it's coming down to Jesus is King. Jehovah is love. That type of answering. But luckily I hear around me that 2 out of 3 born-ins, I talked about with 50 people now, you see 2 out of the 3 who are born in are leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses on an early age already. And that's a good thing about the strategy of the governing body. That's a good thing about lowering the bar on education, lowering the bar on the ministry, lowering the bar on everything. And it's making me happy to see that there are more people who are examining outside of the religion what they are getting into. Also people who want to join, maybe have a Bible study or something, want to join the Jehovah's Witnesses, that they are now doing their research. Hey, here's something, whoa, that's interesting, I will read it. And then they are gonna question things, and they see on forehand, they see where it's going. And that's a good thing, because you can be tricked, but when you are in, it's hard to leave. We all know that. So I'm thankful for all the technology who's available, for all the people who are putting something out there to not to warn people, but to know for yourself what I'm going into. It's the same for me, and then I'm gonna conclude this whole thing. It's the same for me. I hear a theory there, I hear something there, I hear about reincarnation, about having a soul, is gonna live on after I die, whatever. Just an example. But it's my own perspective. And it's my own decision what I am believing and what is my truth. And that's a problem. I have a problem with the truth about the truth. Because you and me, we can be brothers, but how we look at our parents can be completely different. I can like my father, you can like our mother, and you don't like our father. So truth is something, it's also very, very personal. So I'm always a fan of doing your own research and stick with your own gut feeling. What is it telling you that is right or wrong? And if you make that decision based on all the facts, on all the things around you that's available, research, Google, YouTube, Watchtower online library, whatever, and then you make a good decision. And I trust your instincts that you make the decision that fits you best. So don't investigate only one thing, investigate everything to make a well-based decision. So this is my take on why the numbers are declining, and I'm not happy about it, I'm not sad about it, no judgment about it, but these are the facts. And I think it's the governing body to blame for the route they are taking and not taking the people in the religion serious. That's the problem. But then we come back to another video. They don't care about the people. They care in these days about money. Not about printing watchtowers or awake. No, it's not about the presses anymore. It's all about keeping and doubling their money. So, this is my take on why it's declining in numbers and everything. Like this video, share this video, people, and we see each other on the next episode. Have a wonderful day.